Hey folks, it's Wade the Shoe Dog. Welcome to Shoemakers Academy. Today we're going to do a little video and I'm going to show you a golf shoe. I'll explain that in a second, but basically I just want to say this video is brought to you by the Shoe Material Design Guide. Listen, if this video, we're going to open up this shoe and look at the guts inside of it and talk about how the shoe is made. If you want to learn more about like what goes into a regular shoe, any type of shoe, we haven't done a golf shoe before, so that's why we're doing this. But in the Shoe Material Design Guide, we basically do this kind of tear down on a whole bunch of different shoes. We talk about, in the back of the book, you can see we've got about 30 different shoes that we've opened up and just explain what is going on inside all these shoes. Today, and then the rest of the book is actually when you're specifying these materials, what do you need to think about and how do you specify and all that other good stuff. Okay, so really you want to learn more about shoe materials, how to pick them and what goes into a shoe, then this is the book to get to. But okay, let's talk about golf shoes. So this shoe here actually, and this is a little different than normal. This shoe is pre-production. Right, so I've got the samples landed here on my desk, and this is a shoe made by a new brand. It's called 88 Links, and if you're in Florida, these shoes will probably be available in the next few months. But what we've got here is a development sample, and my friend David has graciously allowed me to take this sample, and I'm going to do a little bit of analysis on it, and we're going to open it up. And in particular, why I want to show you this shoe is because this shoe is waterproof, and I want to show you what that construction looks like, and we'll talk about evaluating it. I've been to the factory where the shoe is made and seen the kind of lab testing they do where there's a bladder inside the shoe. I'll show you in a second, or a booty, and they actually test the booty twice before it goes into the shoe. And then in the development operation, of course, they have to qualify the shoe and do flex tests and all that good stuff. That's all behind the scenes. But what I'm going to show you today is just like what's inside this shoe, and we'll get to it. Okay, so 88 Links has 3 different levels of golf shoes. I think this is the low end one, if I remember correctly. The material of this is a synthetic. This colorway is not really my jam, but that modern golf thing is, wacky colors. So what we're looking at here is it's basically it's a hole cut pattern. They've just hidden the seam in the heel, and the EVA is midsole. The midsole is EVA, and the bottom is injection molded TPU. And it's clear, and they've got a lamination process, they've printed the company logo on the bottom of the shoe, and I understand that later on they'll have graphic scenes and all this other cool stuff in it. But this is when you have a clear sole with the artwork printed on the bottom of it, you don't see the glue. So that's a pretty cool clear TPU. And actually, what they've done here, if you really look at it closely, you can see that the cleats are frosted, right, like a light sandblast texture, but the base itself, the web, is actually just gloss, so you can see the artwork through it. Okay, so looking at the shoe, it's kind of a sort of a modern but classic kind of style. We've got perforations here, and I think these are lasered by the feel of it. When I run my finger over it, I can feel a little bit of the where the laser leaves a little residue there. The broguing could be done by cutting die, or it could be done by laser too. It's actually at this point in the production, I'm not sure the production cutting dies are open, so all of this thing could be laser or hand cut. Actually, I can see now that I look at it, this was cut with a cutting die, and we know that because we can see the little pips, right? The centering mark here, right? And that's your sort of clue that this thing was made with an actual production cutting die, because those little centering lines in a hand cut shoe, those don't exist. So whether the entire die run is open, I can tell you that this particular shoe was made with a metal cutting die. Okay. So generally, this is really quite lightweight. This shoe is quite lightweight due to the EVA midsole. That's cool. And this rand actually that makes the sort of colored welt is an extrusion, and then it's glued onto the EVA before the upper is landed on it. So it's a pretty cool construction, very modern. And you'll see when this shoe comes out, there's tons of different colorways of this color, because you can make the rand any color you want. Now, when I look closely at this, you can see where they've joined it here in the back, and I'll hold that up so you can see where they've joined it. Okay, so now let's quickly pause for 1 second here. Let's see here. Well, here it's all right. Let me just check one thing here, and we'll get to it. Not that. Okay. All right. Okay, let's get to this. Now I told you we were gonna cut into this shoe, so let's cut into it. But okay, nice stuffing paper. That's cool. These are kind of tight weave cotton laces. I'll have to ask him about that, because I would think for a shoe that's going to get wet, maybe they got to be polyester. But these are sort of the things you gotta start to think about. So let's go ahead and back these off. Oh yeah, actually that's cool. It's got a nice logoed aglet. Now these are dipped, because I can see they've got the little round ends versus the taped ends where the logo is put on there. So let's back it off here, and let's get a look inside. So we'll get the laces out of here. Okay, let's finish backing these laces off here. Okay, so let's get a look at the footbed here, because I know they're. Oh yeah, I like this. Okay, this is pretty cool. So first of all, we have a dye sublimated footbed. And you can see that's a full color printing, right? So how these are made is the artwork is put on transfer paper, and then that it's printed, and then that transfer paper is put against the fabric, heated up, the ink sublimates, vaporizes, and gets onto the fabric. So what you end up with is a really light touch. Like you don't feel the screen printing, right? It's just on the color is on the fiber, and it's not like crusty screen print. And this is a beautiful PU footbed. It's got the logo in it. Now you can see this is the size marking right there. And how can I tell this is PU? Number one, I feel how spongy it is, and number two, even in the highest quality PU footbed, you're gonna see a little air bubble there, and it's just inevitable around logos. You're going to have a little trap, some air trap, and you can see on the size marking here, there's just some air bubbles. In EVA, you're not going to see that, but in PU you will. It's not a quality thing. It's just that's the fact of life with polyurethane. But this is a beautiful spongy footbed. Okay, so that's quite nice. All right, so inside, okay, see they got some funny stuff here. It says hole in one on the Strobel board. That's funny. And so what they have here actually is they've got a it's actually not Strobel. It looks like it, but it's not actually. This is a soft plastic board. And actually, this shoe is waterproof, right? So you can see that it's got a full gusset, right, that comes up to the second eyelet here. So this shoe is really waterproof. And when I'm starting to look in this shoe, and you should be looking at this too, is what's the construction of the lining, right? Now, because this shoe is waterproof, you can see that the inside components are zigzagged together, right? So there should be no like overlap, right? It should be solid, because if there's an overlap, right, with a loose edge, that means water's going to get in here. But you can see that that's all zigzagged, and it's zigzagged on both sides. Okay, and I'm gonna just put my hand inside here and feel. And what am I looking for here? I'm looking for wrinkles, right? And I don't see any. And when we get into the inside of the shoe, we'll feel it too. Now the other thing is we're gonna sort of give this shoe a squeeze. And I want also, when I'm looking at a shoe like this, I also want to look at the opening and just get a feel for if it's a little sleeker, that means you'll get a little more, collar, top line pressure, which will, when you walk, actually will stop the shoe from gaping open. So that's kind of an important thing. Okay. I think I have. Oh yeah, here we go. You don't have to do it this way, but I will, because I've got a nice sharp blade here. So let's just go. Whew, okay, that was a little bit of effort. The TPU bottom actually was a little bit more of a challenge than just regular rubber and foam to get through. So I had to take it off the bench and work on it. But okay, so now we're looking at the inside of the shoe here. And like I said before, what we're looking for on the inside lining here is how smooth everything is. And actually, as you can see, it's pretty darn smooth. There's actually there's no wrinkles in there really. Everything's glued down nicely. The toe cap's holding its shape. So this cross section actually is what I'd expect. It looks good. I don't see anything too out of the ordinary. There could be a little bit more glue here to hold the collar down, but you got to be careful. If you put too much glue here, then it could get a little crispy. So we're going to set that part aside because that, like I said, that looks pretty good. Now let's start peeling. Let's start peeling this shoe back here so we can see what's going on here. Now, this little footbed piece here, actually, it has fiber on both sides. But I can see that the inside is actually it's waterproof plastic. It's TPU. So this basically is a waterproof sheeting here. So let's go ahead and peel that back. And this is really glued on pretty well. So this actually is what's closing the bottom of the element. So let's go ahead and peel that back. I know I think I said the shoe has a booty. It doesn't actually. This piece of you could call it a board, right? Because this shoe actually is board lasted. Now you can see that it's got an apron, right? That's zigzagged into the lining, right? And then this waterproof, TPU with fibrous backing basically gives you your waterproof seal on the bottom. Okay, so this shoe's not a full booty. And then when we peel it back, we can see that the lining is all laminated to its waterproof material. Okay, that's good. Now I want to go ahead. Well, yeah, let's just look at the cross section a little bit here. You know what I'm going to do is let me pause this recording for a second, and I'm going to get some devices here. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So when you're actually checking out a sample shoe, you're going to want to have a pair of calipers handy, right? Because you're going to want to do things like basically just check that the thicknesses of the materials are what you expect, right? So here we're going to just measure the thickness of that TPU. And this is in the mold, so once the mold is done, you don't really have to worry about it. Okay, that's good too. And the other thing that you do want to look at is the density of the materials that are inside the shoe, right? Whether it's the midsole density or the plastic density, or if there's a rubber bottom, the rubber density, and you're gonna have tools for that, right? So these are the kind of durometer testers, right? So this one in particular is for foam, and you can see that it's foam by the shape of this little dome here. It's actually kind of round. If you can see, it's round versus we're not going to do rubber, we're going to do plastic. So let me show you the plastic one here. I can get this thing open. Okay. And the plastic missile is right here. You can see how that is pointed, right? It's because if you take this point and you put it into EVA, it's just gonna stick in and you won't get a reading, right? But the EVA one, you can see has the ball on it, right? So that's the difference. And you can see this says Shore C or Asker C, is the more commonly what we say in footwear, or Shore D, which is just plastic. And then for rubber, it's kind of in the middle of these two, and the missile is a little bit bigger around, and this is what you're going to use for rubber. Okay, so that's why I have 3 of these. Okay, so just typical. We'll check the we're going to check the footbed here, and how you use this tool is you basically very lightly press the thing together until it bottoms out, right? You don't want to make a dent with this ring. You just want to get the missile head, in nice contact. If you use one finger, that's pretty safe. That's a pretty safe bet to get a reading here. So here, this footbed is 27, almost 30, right? Nice. That's you could make a PU footbed firmer than that or softer, but that's pretty good. This is like all day kind of comfort footbed. All right, so now that we've checked the footbed, we're gonna check the midsole. Now on the midsole, you'd be tempted to just check here, but what you really want to do is you want to get yourself a nice flat surface internally to check the internal density of it. And I did a kind of a rough job cutting this, but we can test it right here. So let's go ahead and test it right here. And you want to try to get yourself a nice flat smooth spot. Okay, what do we got here? Somewhere 51, somewhere in there. Okay, running shoe could be 55. 51 for a golf shoe, pretty good, because you're not actually pounding down the pavement here. You're on grass. So that's a good compromise. Okay, now let's just check now, because we've got plastic on this. You have to be careful, because if you just press right here on the plastic, you're going to end up getting a more flexible reading. That's not really going to work. So what we want to do actually is get to a cross section here, like this heavier piece that we cut right here through the side of the cleat, so that we can get the missile right into the meat of the plastic. And let's just see what kind of reading we can get here. $34D. Okay. And I don't have the spec sheet in front of me to know if that's right or wrong. Feels pretty good. Looks okay. All right, so that's how you test the durometer. And your QC team must have a instrument like this, because when you're on the assembly line, this is where things can get a little wacky if the supplier is messes up or whatever, right? So you want to check this stuff out, and because yes, even though the mold is the mold, when these pieces are prepared, there could be a mistake or oversight or whatever. So it's all, for footbeds in particular, you want to check the durometer. For your midsoles, you definitely want to check the durometer. Now, in a midsole, when you look at the parts before they're assembled, sometimes there'll be a marking on the midsole that basically says measure here, right? Because that's where you sort of say, hey, because if you measure here or here on the side, you're going to get slightly different readings. You really want to try to measure, at the meat of it, right? And the top surface before the shoe's assembled. Okay. So this shoe is board lasted, and we've got the lasting apron right here. And why do they use this kind of apron? The reason you use an apron like this is to save some material cost, right? And then also, I can see in this case, they really want to have a material that can really soak up the glue and get a good bond. So that's why you would use an apron. The apron also could be a little thinner, more flexible, so you could get this area put together with fewer wrinkles. Let's look at that cross section. So here you can see where the rand is assembled to the midsole. That's pretty interesting. Okay. So let's just take a little look at the I want to look at the collar foam, and I want to separate. I want to get behind this upper and look and see what we have inside here. I do like that little jewelry piece. That's pretty nice. So let's just go ahead and just slice down here. Boy, it would really help if I had a sharp blade here, huh? It really would help. Okay, don't use a razor blade like this. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna peel this back, and we're gonna look and see what we've got here. So you've got, okay, what we're looking at here is that this actually is a synthetic shoe. And how I know that is because when I'm looking at this cross section here, it's white all the way through. If this was leather, you'd probably see, you know, sort of that chrome tan, sort of gray bluish thing here. And for this kind of laser cutting, synthetic works really nice. And let's open up. I want to just take a slice here and get into this collar foam quickly here, and get in there and peel this back, and just sort of what I want to just see is I want to get it out and just try to feel the density of it all. Okay. And the other thing that I'm looking at is how clean and straight this seam line is right here, because you know when you're rolling over a collar like this, you know, you can't necessarily see the workmanship. If the line is zigzagging, then you'll end up with lumps and bumps here when they turn it out. And then, you really want to run your finger down this seam to just see that the edges were cut clean, because this is what's going to make the collar opening of the shoe nice and soft and consistent and smooth. So it's not a bad idea to just peel this back and get a look at the quality of the seam here and see that they did a nice job on there. So that in general, we're looking pretty good here. And the other thing is that we want to look at the heel counter of this shoe also. So let's start peeling the lining open. And what we have here is, it's a sheet counter, and this is it's a heat moldable plastic called Surlyn, and it's got textile fused to the surface, so that it can stick inside the shoe. Very typical. Even though the shoe actually, when I look at it, you can see there's a nice curve here, right? And that tells me that this shoe, even though this component is flat, when they back part mold it, you get a really nice curve built into it. And you can just feel it right here. You can just see how it has that nice sort of delicate curve. And that, the only way you're gonna get that is if you're back part molded and the molding machine really clamps onto the last and gets the upper right into that. So that's how you're gonna get that. So this is a properly made shoe. And that little curve there is pretty important, because that's what's gonna basically hold you in. And how many times have you had a shoe where maybe the end of the day, you want to loosen up the laces a little bit. Oh, hi, puppy. And even if the laces come loose, where your foot starts slipping out because the heel doesn't grip you very well. So it's important to notice whether that heel's been molded. And again, a shoe like this, they absolutely have to use that same kind of thermal molding process in the toe cap, because otherwise you won't have a nice smooth toe cap like this, right? So So hey folks, that's roughly how when I'm looking at a shoe, I'm gonna do a basic examination of it. I would have the spec sheet in front of me to go and check all the Pantone numbers. This shoe really is only 2 colors, so as long as that purple matches, and the purple matches the Pantone number, but also each of the pieces match the pieces. That's pretty important. So in general, this is a nice looking shoe. I'm not a golfer, and I've got some golfing experts that are also going to examine these shoes, and we'll get a report from those guys coming up. But again, this is typical work of a developer. You're gonna, I always order a pair and a half, right? One pair that you can photograph and have archive of and give to the customer and wear test. And the other half a pair, you're gonna do this. You're gonna open it up and make sure that it's specified the way you specified it. And also, you just want to see that the internal construction is of high quality. And yes, you can examine a lot of that from outside of the shoe without cutting it open. But for me, it's pretty important to dive into the inside and get a look. So hey, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Recently, we just crossed 5,000 subscribers. Again, that's about 5,000 more than I ever thought we'd have, but I really appreciate it. And again, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And please visit shoemakersacademy.com, because we've got a ton of courses and books and other materials that will help you really learn about shoemaking. And I want you to remember too that in the trade of shoemaking, designer is just one job. A lot of people think, oh, I'm not a designer. I'm not actually a hands-on shoemaker. You don't actually have to be able to make a shoe like this to analyze and study and be in the business and be a developer. So again, there's lots of opportunities in the shoe trades, and with a little training and a little experience, you'll have a good time at it. So that's it, folks. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.